everybody, it's Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. A better day today weather-wise. If you can get outside today, do it. It is a little bit chilly. Got to get the sweatshirt on today because it feels kind of like a fall day. Temperature right now is in the mid-50s in Charlotte. We will be warming up, hopefully, closer to 60, which will be below average. And that leads to today's topic. Meteorologist Aisha Scott is going to talk about weather maps. And the map you see off to my which is my left here, but on camera, it's off to the right, is actually today's weather map. And you can see we had a little bit of snow in the mountains this morning. Actually, about 5 inches of snow fell at Mount LeConte. Beach Mountain, I've got about 2 to 3 inches of snow. But when you see those L's and H's and those fronts, those blue lines and blue lines and red lines, what do those mean? So meteorologist Aisha Scott is going to show you a little bit about how the maps work, how these produce clouds and severe weather. We'll do a little bit of tornado talk today. Maps and fronts from meteorologist Aisha Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am meteorologist Aisha Scott, and I want to talk to you today about some things that you would typically find on your everyday weather map. All right, so are you ready? If so, let's get started. All right, we're going to start with this circled blue H. All right, now this blue H is high pressure. Okay, so high pressure is sinking air, right? So usually when we have sinking air, we have blue skies, a lot of sunshine. The weather is very, very quiet. So I know we talked about high pressure a little bit when we talked about the weather instruments. So if you like to go outside, maybe ride your bike, if you like to go hiking, high pressure is your friend. The weather is very quiet. But on the opposite end, we have low pressure. Low pressure is literally the complete opposite. So we have rising air. Rising air creates clouds, it creates rain. Believe it or not, yesterday, the reason it was so cloudy and rainy is because we actually had an area of low pressure that tracked just south of our area and brought us the rain, the clouds, the winds picked up a little bit. So low pressure usually isn't the best weather setup if you like to be outdoors, but with all of us being inside today, yeah, yesterday was a little bit gloomy, but we do actually today have high pressure building back in. All right, so let's talk about some fronts here. We've got this red front, and that's typically a warm front, this particular front that you're seeing. With a warm front, it is the leading edge of a warmer air mass. Okay, so the air behind it is warmer than the air out ahead of it. Along warm fronts, sometimes too, you will get storms firing up, you get some rain firing up depending on the season. So it's just basically denoting warmer air that's moving in. Now, on the opposite end, we have the cold front. The cold front here is seen in the blue, and the cold front is denoting a cooler air mass. Okay, so out ahead of this cold front, the air is warmer. Once this cold front passes, the air is cooler. Okay, that's why it's called a cold front. Now, the cold fronts, along those fronts, typically, depending on the season, say spring, summer, early fall, we typically get really strong storms that form along these cold fronts because there's such a drastic change in the warm air out ahead of it, the cold air behind it. So cold and warm air don't like each other. They're usually fighting along that cold front, and that's why you see storms firing up typically along those fronts. All right, so sometimes along that cold front, you get really strong thunderstorms, especially in, say, the spring, the summer, the early fall. And I know you all talked about clouds a little bit with Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich. This particular cloud that I want to talk to you about is your thunderstorm cloud. Whenever I show this cloud at school talks, I always am asked, is this a bomb going off? It looks like it, right? But not quite a bomb going off. This is called a cumulonimbus cloud. So this is your thunderstorm cloud. And again, they form along those cold fronts because remember I mentioned you have warm air and you have cold air. They're fighting. They don't like each other. Okay. Now, sometimes the storms get really, really strong, even severe storms, and they produce tornadoes. So your supercell storms produce tornadoes. And with tornadoes, so the way they form is you have what's called wind shear. Wind shear is the change in wind direction and or speed with height, right? So whenever you have that change in wind speed in or direction, at the surface or at the ground, you have this spinning of the wind, right? And in these thunderstorms, you actually have rising air. And as the air continues to rise, it will pull that horizontal funnel, if you will. It will pull it vertical. And that's the beginning phase of a tornado developing. So tornadoes are very serious. Obviously, you want to take them seriously because not only can they damage your home or your car, they can also take out lives as well. So they can be deadly. So you do want to take these things seriously. Here's a picture that I've been using for the past couple of years, just showing an actual tornado that was on the ground. They look very scary. They're very violent. And again, you want to take tornadoes seriously. So let's talk about tornadoes really quickly, because in all of this relates to the weather map, because again, I showed you that cold front, and which sometimes can lead to tornadoes forming. So tornado safety, you want to make sure that you seek shelter immediately. All right. We're into the spring season now, and spring can be a pretty active severe weather season. Okay. We're actually in severe weather season now. So you want to seek shelter immediately. Here's what you want to do. You want to go to the lowest level of your home, away from any windows. Okay, so you want to get away from windows, outside walls. The bathrooms, the closets are some of the safest places you can go, as long as they're away from windows and the outside walls. If you're outdoors, you want to lie flat, face down in a ditch. Okay, you don't want to stay in your vehicle. You want to try to find a ditch if you can. Now, we've talked about tornadoes a little bit, creating a lot of damage. So here's a look at the scale. Especially, this is good to know, especially as we work our way through severe weather season. So an EF0 tornado is 65 to 85 mile per hour winds. The damage is relatively light. EF1 is 86 to 110 miles per hour. Okay, the damage, we'll say moderate. EF2 is 111 to 135 miles per hour. That is considerable damage. All right. When we get to EF3, 136 to 165 mile per hour winds, severe damage. An EF4 tornado is 166 to 200 miles per hour. That is devastating damage. And then EF5 is 200 plus miles per hour. All right. The damage is incredible. We're talking entire towns completely destroyed and demolished. All right. So I wanted to show you this just to give you some insight on tornadoes and the wind speeds, the damage that tornadoes could do. Again, all circling back to the weather map. So when you watch the weather, on the news, or you watch the weather every day, maybe online or your TV, I just want you to think of some of those things we talked about today: high pressure, low pressure, the warm front, the cold front, and kind of get an idea of some of the things and some of the storms that those cold fronts can produce. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the weather map today, as well as tornadoes. Again, if you have any questions, certainly send them my way.